I've heard a ghostly voice in my home. I wasn't quite sure what to do. Now, we're gonna hear this story. But first, make sure to subscribe, because it really helps me out. And don't forget to hit that like button. This is one of the scariest stories from the show. It was sent in by a listener. They told me they wanted to remain anonymous, so I'll be using a pseudonym for them. Let's call him Ben. Ben says he's 28 years old and lives with his wife. He recently moved into an older home. The house had been vacant for about 5 years before he moved in. Ben has never seen or heard anything strange in the house until one night when he awoke to hearing someone else in the house. Here's what he said. A few months ago, I was woken up in the middle of the night by what sounded like my name being called out very clearly. I sat up in bed and listened. Then I heard it again. My name is not common, so I was confused. I tried to listen closely to where it came from, but it sounded like it was coming from everywhere at once. At first, I assumed it was my wife, but then I realized she was sleeping soundly next to me. I shrugged it off and went back to sleep. One night I was awoken to what sounded like a woman's voice, very clearly saying my name. I sat up again and listened. It was very clear, but it was my name. My wife and I both started to get freaked out by this, so we decided that if it happened again, we would investigate. A week later, it happened again. This time, we were both awoken to the voice. We could hear it very clearly, saying my name. We didn't investigate right away because we were both too scared. The next time it happened, we decided enough was enough. We turned our bedroom light on and got out of bed to investigate. We listened for a few minutes, but we couldn't hear anything. After a while, we went back to bed. Since then, the voices have become more frequent, happening multiple times every single night. Since then, we've had many strange experiences. Doors opening and closing on their own, objects moving, shaking, and even footsteps above us in the attic. We've only been here for months, and we've already had 3 experiences. Last night was the final straw. We were woken up to what sounded like my name being yelled. It was very loud, and it shook our entire bed. We jumped out of bed and ran to the hallway. We began to call out for anyone who might be there. Obviously, there was no response. After a minute, we went back to bed. Shortly after, though, we heard a loud bang come from the living room. I knew whatever it was. It wasn't human. My wife and I looked at each other and just started laughing hysterically. We called out to it, "Who are you? What do you want?" Still, nothing answered. We stood in the hallway, arguing about whether or not we should go investigate when the bang came again, but this time it was much louder. My wife refused to go further, and I obliged. I walked slowly down the hallway, toward the noise. As I got closer to the living room, I began to feel uneasy. I turned the corner and stared at the living room. I stepped inside and flipped on the lights. Nothing was there. I walked over to the end table next to my couch and picked up the remote control. As I did, something brushed across my leg. I jumped and spun around, but nothing was there. I began to panic and quickly left the room. I ran back to the bedroom and woke my wife up. I told her I needed her to come see something. I wasn't sure what to say or how to explain what I felt, but I knew that I couldn't handle it alone. We held hands and walked back to the living room. We continued to investigate the rest of the night with no results. Today, we're going to find out what happened to Ben. Did he solve the mystery of the voice in his home? Let's continue. We didn't sleep at all the rest of the night. My wife stayed in the bedroom with the lights on, and I spent most of the night sitting in my office watching videos on my phone. Around 6 a.m., I went back to check the living room again. There was nothing there. After my wife and I got some sleep, we spent the day cleaning and organizing. That evening, we invited some friends over to play some video games. We didn't tell them why we invited them. We just said we needed company. They noticed that the lights were still on in the living room and asked what was wrong. I told them about the strange noises and events that have been happening lately. They thought it was pretty funny and said that maybe I was just making it up for attention. I got mad and invited them to spend the night. None of them accepted. However, they agreed to come back the next day with some cameras to try and catch whatever was in my house. That night, I didn't sleep at all. Every time I closed my eyes, I thought I could hear whispering in my ear. I ended up spending most of the night sitting in my office. When my friends arrived, I showed them the living room and explained what happened there. They set up cameras in the living room and office where I spend most of the night. They also set up cameras in the attic to try and capture any movement. That night, none of us slept. We watched the monitors all night and caught nothing. My friends finally convinced me to go to sleep at around 4 a.m. They said they would watch the rest of the night. When he woke up, asked what they saw. They said they didn't see anything all night, but they did notice that the temperature in the living room dropped about 10 degrees. After my friends left, I checked the cameras. The living room camera showed a shadow in the background. It looked like a dark gray mist slowly moving through the room. When I reviewed the footage on my office, it showed the door opening on its own. I didn't remember the door being open. I checked to see if the door had been open when I left the room, but it was shut. The camera must have gotten a draft and opened the door. Now, I'm beginning to think that this house is haunted. I've read about houses that stay cold even in the middle of summer. Could this house be haunted? Let's find out. It's now been a month since I moved in. The activity has stopped. I haven't heard a voice or seen a shadow since. I have put up thermometers around the house to monitor the temperature, but it seems to stay normal. I still get goosebumps when I walk through the house. When I'm alone, I have a feeling that I'm being watched. My wife is beginning to think that I'm making all of this up. She hasn't experienced anything herself. What should I do? I've only been here a month, and I don't want to scare my wife away. Also, I don't want to look like the crazy husband who thinks his house is haunted. Well, it sounds like Ben's house may actually be haunted. Hearing a voice in your home can definitely be scary. I wonder if the voice was trying to warn them or communicate with them. Or could it be a spirit that is angry and wants them gone? In a comment on this story, a user said, "Personally, I think this is a case of poltergeist activity, meaning that the ghost is directly targeting this person. Hence, all of the activity stopping when they leave the home. Maybe the spirit doesn't want them there." Another user suggested that Ben try and contact the previous owner of the house and see if they had any strange experiences there themselves. Maybe the house is haunted by the previous owner or somebody who lived there long ago. But what should Ben do? Should he try and contact the ghost? Or should he just try to ignore it? If you were in this situation, what would you do? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to submit your own story, click the link in the description. I respond to every email. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe because I publish new videos every single day. Thanks for watching. See you soon.